Who are my close friends? The real ones. The ones who stick around when it matters most. Maybe the better question is, would I be close friends with myself? This series is about navigating the real, the hard, and the meaningful parts of friendship.
This series has been all about looking at the biblical model for friendship and looking at how the relationship dynamics were navigated by Jesus, his followers, his friends. We even looked back into the Old Testament. But this Sunday, today, we're calling Practice Week. It's this thing that we want to do where we have an entire series, and then at the end of it, we sort of just get together and we talk about how the series hit us, what stood out to us, what we can apply to our lives practically, and how it's actually changing us, as opposed to just coming here, hearing some stuff, and then forgetting it as soon as you walk out the door and not applying any of it. Like, we want to actually be doers of the word that we are hearing. Which brings me to my heart behind this, which is found in Matthew. And in the book of Matthew, there's this parable that Jesus tells us, and it's this parable of two houses. You've probably heard me talk about this before. But in the parable of the two houses, Jesus says, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice, this is practice week. So everyone who hears them, but then also puts them into practice, is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Now the rains come down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat up against that house, and that's just like life. Like, if you're the house, there's going to be trouble, there's going to be difficulty, there's going to be friends that don't want to be your friends anymore. There's going to be friends talking crap and gossiping about you. There's going to be hard times at school, hard times in your family, hard times just on social media and stuff that you're seeing happening around the world. So when that stuff happens, the house built on the rock doesn't fall because that's where its foundation is. And that's the difference between a person who's a hearer and a doer of the word. Because look what he says next about just the hearer. You don't want to be this guy. Everyone who hears these words of mine, again, Jesus talking. If you read the Bible, if you hear a teaching of Jesus and you hear it, but you don't put them into practice, you're a fool. It literally calls you a fool who built your house on the sand, metaphorically. And when the rains come down and the streams rose and the winds blew and beat up against that house, notice the same things faced the sand house versus the house built on the rock. The same things happened to them, but the result was completely different. In the house built on sand, the result was catastrophic. It says great was the fall of it, or it fell with a great crash. And when your house falls apart, which could look a bunch of different ways for you, but you know how, like, when your life's falling apart, it doesn't just affect you, it affects all the people around you too. And so we want to not be like that when difficulty strikes. So what we're going to do really quickly, like I said, review where we've been so far in this series. We'll break into small groups and discuss these things together. So in week 1, it was Old Bailey who was actually in here preaching. He kicked this series off, and he said that being a friend means serving your friends. We looked at John chapter 13, where Jesus literally washed the feet of his friends, which is nasty, right? But the point of that really is that true friendship requires humility. True friendship requires proactive love, like not giving what you think that the person deserves, but giving them what they don't deserve, even if they don't give it to you. It's like being proactive, elevating your friends' needs above your own, because that's what Jesus has done for us. So this is model that in your friendships. In week number 2, D-Money taught us that our friends forge our future, and that you will become like the people that you spend the most time with. So be intentional about whom you're spending time with. We should be picky, or at least aware of who our friends are. And that should matter to us because they do affect us, for better or for worse. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, it is true. Even the people you follow on social media have the ability to do this. We looked at Proverbs 12, verse 26, which says the righteous, or the people who are in this right standing or right relationship with, who are hitting the bullseye with God, they choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Proverbs 13:20, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. It's his way of saying, Solomon's way of saying, you're going to be like the people you spend the most time with, right? D-Money also challenged us to be the type of friend that you would want to have. So, like, Are you honest? Are you loving? Are you proactive and sacrificial? Are you humble? Do you embody the characteristics of the friend that you want to have? Look in the mirror first before you start even looking at your friends, but look at them both. Last week, I got to preach on this one, which was cool that we had Bailey and Delaney and me. I love the variety of voices, but I got the pleasure of talking about when the friendship fails and when you have to go your separate ways. And we looked at this disagreement between Paul and Barnabas found in Acts chapter 15, which ultimately resulted in them splitting up their friendship and even finding new friends and going their separate ways. But the interesting thing about it is that they trash one another and talk a bunch of mess about each other behind each other's back and go on social media and post or on their secret Snap stories and talk a bunch of mess about this person with the screenshots and receipts. No, they didn't. They didn't. They held each other high, even in the midst of disagreement. Did God bring them new friends? Yes. Did God use the brokenness for his glory ultimately and for a greater expansion of the gospel? Yes. Like God used it for even greater things than they could have possibly even accomplished together. It was hard in the moment, but it was ultimately good. And we're trusting that when those situations happen with us, our friends stab us in the back, or we just grow apart. We go to different schools and we don't talk as much anymore. We're in different social circles. We have different interests. God can use those things, and it'll be tough now, but it'll be good eventually for both of you. So we rest on that hope. There's one thing that we all had in common, which I loved as I kind of reviewed the talks over the past 3 weeks. And all of us in our own way said that healthy friendships are work, but the work is worthy. And this is so true. It is worth putting in the work to have a healthy friendship, to be wise, to be righteous, to be these things. Last time we talked, I left you with this verse, and this is where I'll leave it again today before we head off into small groups. It's 1 Peter 3, verses 8 through 9. And it says, "Finally, all of you should be of one mind. Sympathize with one another. Love one another as brothers and sisters. Be tenderhearted and keep a humble attitude. Don't repay evil for evil." That's hard. "Don't retaliate with insults when people insult you. Instead, pay them back with a blessing." If y'all remember, I looked at some social media comments. I heard there were more social media comments. They're always there. It's funny. But pay them back with a blessing. So now, let's not just talk about it. Let's be about it. Let's go be like the wise ones who built our house on the rock, who are not just hearers of these words, but actually doers of it. And we're going to break out into small groups. Let's build our house, our friendship, our lives on the rock.